I'm feeling like a lost one. I know it all away. Things that you've done, take it all away. I know find a way. I'm feeling like a lost one. Feeling like a lost one.
Hey, hold up. Look, I tell my people we the Jews, they tell me it don't matter. Like a 3-year-old's room, I tell them we been scattered. We hating on each other cause we on different sides of the prison. Hating cause we rock colors on different sides of the prison. Hating cause we speak their language in different types of diction. Hating cause he work in the fields and he work in the kitchen. We just different slaves to the same master. Yeah, Peezee still going hard, but he ain't the same rapper. I just be kicking knowledge cause knowledge be giving power. The knowledge I give is wisdom to the Father cause he is power. Every hour on the hour I fear him and praying daily cause every hour on the hour could be my last maybe. Yeah, RealJudah when I speak it comes to pass cause I speak the obvious words come back void, never that. YASHAYA, he gave me orders, told me seek the large seat. Knowledge yourself and make a Judah lose sleep.
You got me looking for the lost ones cause I'm feeling like a lost one. Got me praying out the window, show me the light, help me find a way through the journey of the missed ones. Can you help me out with this one? Shots of Henny and the endo, making it hard, take it all away. Take it all away. Got me feeling, cause I'm feeling like a lost. Got me feeling, yeah. Take it all away. I know the things that I've done, cause I'm feeling like a lost. I know the things that I've done. Don't find a way, find a way.
Your hood ain't greater than mine and your curses ain't greater either. In fact, it's actual proof that me and you, we the people. Digesting gallons of Henny, feeding demons, we won't gone. It's been so long since we been back home. I give games so torments we can come up out it. Like better is little with righteousness than bottle without it. My words break them down like Kush, you're breaking down. I used to make that breaking bad money, watch me break it down. Flipping printed bricks so a nigga could switch whips with closed mouths, pull chicks and take to the room and make flips in the trap all night, pushing hard and soft white to your own people who lost the fight and lost hope of getting right. You might win some, but it's a really lost one. The one who got me circulating the valley for lost ones. Knowledge of oneself and make a Judah lose sleep. Feel like Peter who Christ asked to feed the lost sheep.
Got me looking for the lost ones cause I'm feeling like a lost one. Got me praying out the window, show me the light, help me find a way through the journey of the missed ones. Can you help me out with this one? Shots of Henny and the endo, making it hard, take it all away. Take it all away. Take it all, cause I'm feeling like I take it all away. I know the things that I find a way. Help me find a way. Find a way. Let me find a way.
Yo, Shalom family, big news. Another book in the Book of Remembrance series is scheduled to drop. The Book of Remembrance of Moses. Let me tell y'all something. First I got the Book of Remembrance of Enoch. I started there because I was interested in the Enochian calendar. When I tell you the information in the book felt so good to my spirit, it was like food. Then I got the Book of Remembrance of 1st and 2nd Chief. After reading this 2 books in one edition, I knew I found something special. Then I got the Book of our ancient grandmothers. That thing was fire. Then I got the Book of Remembrance of Melchizedek. The information in all these books is heavy. Now the last book in the Book of Remembrance series is the Book of Remembrance of Moses. Listen, Israel, YASHAYA, I'm talking the true Israel. This book is telling us our true history, the true story of Abraham, the true covenant of Abraham, a more detailed account of our forefather Jacob. The book is called the Book of Remembrance of Moses, so you know we getting the true account of Moses' life. Footnotes with plenty of precepts in it. But check this out. When I got the first few books in this series, I had to find out who was writing this material. Who was the man that YASHAYA Christ was giving this information to? First, I was shocked to find that this man was still alive. I just knew these books were written hundreds of years ago. But no, he is still around. Ben-Alim, Goku Harim III. I reached out to him and his community after a couple of visits. He allowed me and the family to live on their property and experience their lifestyle. Being out here, my wife and myself were asked to be in the room when he used the urim. My wife was a scribe for this book, and I was a witness. Goku Harim III wanted the 23rd High Priest community to be a part of this last book of the Books of Remembrance series, from the ground up. But to me, the most powerful information in this book is the Torah, the true Torah. If you follow our channel, we've been telling you the Bible's been tampered with. The Book of Remembrance of Moses, available now for pre-order. Right now, y'all go to brotherhoodofchristchurch.org. Link is in the description. Don't neglect yourself. Elect yourself. RealJudah. Let go. Yo, Shalom family. All praises to Kahi, the Ruach Kadash, the Holy Spirit. All praises to Enochs said. That's Ahayah he said. The great I am, loving kindness. All praises to Most of the Lamb, our minister of forgiveness, YASHAYA, our Savior. Welcome to another installment of Clear Eyes, No Visine. This is episode 4 of our Enochs True Calendar series. Yeah, the Feast of Tranquility. Man, these books of remembrances cover a vast amount of biblical information. They give understanding to a variety of hot button issues. One of those would be the calendar. Enoch's True Calendar. Once again, this is the 4th episode of this series, Enoch's True Calendar. That's that playlist called Enoch's True Calendar. In each episode, we deal with one of the holy days on the Enochian calendar. The 4th holy day of the year is the Feast of Tranquility. This memorializes the first time the Lord had angels pass over the righteous and hold down the wicked. When I mean hold down, suppress, right? Hold them back. Make them feel powerless to the truth that the righteous is rocking in, right? The first 3 holy days we dealt with in this series were New Year's, Ma'alu's Day, which is also the Israelites' Passover, and third, which is the most significant holy day of the year, Shabuah, or the Day of Instruction. Shabuah, or the Day of Instruction. Man, y'all go back and check out the episodes in this series. Remember, the name of this series and the name of this playlist is Enoch's True Calendar. Yo, y'all mash on the like button. If you are anything like me, you will listen to the content, enjoy the content, and then forget to hit the like button. So mash on that thing. Mash on the like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so, and hit the bell so you are notified whenever we drop something new. So let's get started, family. As always, let's start by reading Revelation 3:18. Baby, read that.
I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich in white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see.
And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Clear eyes, no visine. Let go. We are starting in the book of remembrance of Enoch, chapter 13, verse 121. The Lord is instructing Enoch on the divisions of days, the calendar. I reread.
And again, the Lord instructed Enoch, and he said, and there is a holy day in the memorable passages of my father, and it is called the Feast of Tranquility, and it is not a Sabbath.
So the actual day of the Feast of Tranquility is not a Sabbath day, huh? Let's read.
And 2 days before this day is a Sabbath. And on that day you shall have a place prepared where you sleep, and you shall make it fresh and new. And you shall have a pillow of pure linen filled with a clean and combined wool.
Combed.
Okay, filled with clean and combed wool, so Enoch said can lay his head down when he sleeps with you that night, and the day he sleeps with you is a Sabbath, and your hair may be down, for it is not a day when a person is held to account.
So 2 days before the actual day is a Sabbath. We're supposed to have fresh bedding and a pillow made of pure linen filled with clean and combed wool. So Enoch said can sleep with us that night. Yeah? That night is a Sabbath. And we can wear our hair down that day because it is not a day when a person is held to account. That means we are forgiven, fresh, brand new. Verse 122.
And on the morrow you are to arise early in each of your encampments, and you are to select pure young maidens to dance before the inhabitants of your villages. And they are to dance to the place where the asib is kept.
Remember, asib is the Hebrew word for wheat. So the day after we sleep with Enoch, he said, we rise early and select pure young maidens to dance before the inhabitants of the villages. So there's a procession of people who are part of the community, led by the dancing young maidens, and they proceed to where the asib is kept. Start verse 122 over.
And on the morrow you are to arise early in each of your encampments, and you are to select pure young maidens to dance before the inhabitants of your villages. And they are to dance to the place where the asib is kept. And all of the women are to obtain a seed, and it is to be ground with stones, even as Moses the Lamb did for Kavah the day before the day of tranquility.
So all the women are supposed to get a seed and grind it with stones, like Moses the Lamb did for Kavah on the day before the first day of tranquility. We went over that account in our Remembrance of Enoch series. The name of that episode is Spiritual Warfare. We will go there, back to that account. We're going to read some of that account today. Real talk. Let's finish here first though. Verse 123.
And it is to be cooked with milk, and it is to be sweetened with honey. And do not withhold the honey to be miserly.
Moses out the chain. Read that last line.
And do not withhold the honey to be miserly.
Do not be stingy with the honey in the bread. That's what Moses said. Read.
And it is to have leavening, for it is the bread of peace.
Yeah. Yeast, which is a leavening agent, feels the breath of life. You can read that in the Handbook of Established Righteousness on page 84. Right? Verse 124, read.
And then on the next day, which is a jubilee of days from the day of instruction.
Remember, a jubilee of days is 50 days. So the day after the women make the bread, the third day, and the official holy day, read.
You are to eat the bread in a feast, and the purpose of the bread is for you to be free from fear and intimidation.
And the purpose of the bread is for us to be free from fear and intimidation. The bread is righteous element that frees us from opposition from the enemy, a weapon the Lord gave us for spiritual warfare. Let's keep reading.
And you are to pray for one another and request from Enoch, he said, protection from fear.
We are also to pray for each other. We're supposed to pray for each other, saints, and ask the Most High to protect us from fear. Read.
For that night the Erkadeshi shall issue forth to identify their own.
What will happen on the night of the Feast of Tranquility?
For that night the Erkadeshi shall issue forth to identify their own.
The Erkadeshi will go out to identify their own. Who is their own? The righteous, of course. Read.
And they shall suppress the fear and presence of Mosor the Decadent by a mighty hand, And woe unto those whom they ignore with their love.
They're going to shut down the devil's spiritual attack on us. Motsa, which is Christ, said that the Ere Kodeshi was going to do this with a mighty hand. Motsa also said, woe to those who the Ere Kodeshi don't cover with their love. The same type of protection was offered up to the Israelites on their Passover day. Very interesting. Let's keep reading. Verse 125.
And the Lord rehearsed to him the memory of the agony and distress of heart of his father Enochs said, when in the midst of the peace and tranquility of Eden, there came a shriek of fear to penetrate the stillness and all of Elder in Eden. And the host of the heavenly ones were filled with the dread and dismay of alarm.
That was the day Satan fell into Eden. If you have not checked out the Remembrance of Enoch series, do that. We covered Semihaz's arrival into Eden. Awesome account. That was also in the spiritual warfare episode. Read.
And in that day.
And in that day. That day was the day Semihaza entered Eden. Read.
And in that day, Moses the Lamb was able to come to intervene in the face of their fear. And he caused the angels of heaven, who are called the Ere Kodeshi, to pass over in Eden to suppress Semihaz.
Christ called the Ere Kodeshi, or he caused the Ere Kodeshi to pass over in Eden to suppress Satan. Christ caused the Ere Kodeshi to lock down Satan with a mighty hand. Read.
And he met them in the place where they had fled, and he slept with them. And on the morrow he brought the first protection elements known to man, and it was the Kelly and the Kelly bread.
We will be going to that account shortly. The account that the Feast of Tranquility is memorializing. Let's read the purpose of this holy day.
And the purpose of passage is to protect the righteous from fright and fear and from harm and the destructive forces of evil and from lies and from false visions and from the effects of the works of darkness and from the consequences of the temporal world when they are contrary to the will of Enochs. And this can be because the first day of tranquility was established in the purity of the natural world of Eden.
Powerful. These holy days are significant. Very important. I read verse 127 again.
And the purpose of passage is to protect the righteous from fright and fear and from harm and the destructive forces of evil and from lies and from false visions and from the effects of the works of darkness and from the consequences of the temporal world when they are contrary to the will of Enochs.
This holy day is a major day of protection. It protects against all those things, fright and fear, from harm and the destructive forces of evil. Come on, man, who don't need that? It protects us from lies and false visions. Semihaza is the father of lies. And one of those lies is the false vision he gives people. He lies to us about the reason the Father created us. He gives us a false created purpose. This is a very important holy day. Read.
And this can be because the first day of tranquility was established in the purity of the natural world of Eden.
The reason this holy day can protect us in these ways is because the Feast of Tranquility was established in the purity of Eden. So it has residual effects. Yeah, they distorted the true calendar system. Yeah, they did. It is protection for the righteous. That's why they did it. Read.
And thus Moses the Lamb intervened again, being enabled by the acts of righteousness which occurred on the day of the measure of Milu. For Enochs said, applies all of his holy days to all of his children.
Read that again.
And thus Moses the Lamb intervened again, being enabled by the acts of righteousness which occurred on the day of the measure of Milu. For Enochs said applies all of his holy days to all of his children.
All the holy days complement each other. Moses is able to step up and protect us during the Feast of Tranquility because of the righteousness done on Milu's day. Remember, on Milu's day, the people dedicated their lives to Enochs, making themselves the Ere Kodeshi's loved ones who are protected. During the Feast of Tranquility, the loved ones are protected by the Ere Kodeshi. During the Feast of Tranquility. tranquility. The calendar matters, family. Read.
And this day is very dear to the heart of Enoch, he said, for the protection of his lovely ones is magnified on that day. And his heart can rest from their being troubled with fear. And all of the holy hosts of heaven count the days with him from one holy day to the next.
This day is very important to Enoch, he said. It's been set up to protect us and help us through this temporal world experience. We have a God of loving kindness. Everything he does is to help us. Now let's go read the account of the first celebration of the Day of Tranquility. We are staying in the book of remembrance of Enoch. But we're going to go back to chapter 6 and we're going to pick up from verse 16. YASHAYA and Kava have been running because Kava witnessed Satan fall into Eden, right? They've been running from their home, right? They've been running far from their home. Fear was pursuing them, right? Verse 16.
And when they came around the corner, it was towards evening. And as they looked, they saw a glow coming from the base of one of the sentinel trees. And as they looked, they saw Enoch, he said, waiting for them there. And the sight of him caused all their longings to flee. And they ran to him, for they loved him dearly.
Just the sight of the Lord caused their search for safety and their need for safety to go away. That's what it feels like to dwell in the arms of the Lord. Let's get a precept. We go into Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Read that.
Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
And he will give us rest. Let's hear from Isaiah though. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 2. Read that.
O Lord, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee. Be thou our arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble.
Be thou their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble. Isaiah is calling for the Lord to be our salvation in times of trouble. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 40. We're going to read 10 through 11. Read.
Behold, the Lord God will come with a strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm, and carry them in his bosom, and gently lead those that are with young.
And shall gently lead those that are with young. Whatever the situation, whatever the setback, he will guide us through hard times. Let's go back to the book of remembrance of Enoch. We in chapter 6. We read and discussed this account in our Remembrance of Enoch series. The name of that episode was Spiritual Warfare. Let's read verse 16 again. The book of remembrance of Enoch, chapter 6, verse 16. Read.
And when they came around the corner, it was towards evening. And as they looked, they saw a glow coming from the base of one of the sentinel trees. And they looked, and they saw Enoch, he said, waiting for them there. And the sight of him caused all their longings to flee. And they ran to him, for they loved him dearly.
When the Lord married YASHAYA and Kava, it's Adam and Eve, he told them not to fear. Why? Because he would always be with them. And you see, he just pulled up, right? Oh, they see how they ran to him. So they loved him dearly. They knew the Most High. Verse 17.
And as they approached, he smiled upon them. And they approached him gently and said, Father, we are so glad to see you in this place. We have been driven forth from where we were by something loud and terrible that fell from the sky, and we were pursued with fear. Father, who is it that came out of the heavens to pursue us in this manner?
They said something right there. You see that? They said something pursued them with fear. Fear is something used to run us down. The enemy wants us to react in fear. He wants us to walk around in the spirit of fear. It's so much more difficult for us to truly hear the spirit when we operate in fear. YASHAYA and Kava asked, who is this that came out of the heavens to chase us down in this manner? Remember, Semihaza is a meteor that fell from the sky. Yes, a meteor. Creation is alive, family. So Ahayah is a meteor that fell from the sky and put a spirit of fear in our first parents. Read.
And before he can answer, Kavah said, whatever it was, it is a friend to no one, and it is not joined to creation. And Yatsakad said, and Father, there is nothing that can be known about it, for you are to enter into it to give it life. And the joy of life is not present any longer in our resting place.
That is what the enemy looks to do. Read the last line of that verse again.
And the joy of life is not present any longer in our resting place.
Satan looks to remove the joy of life from our homes. That's why he has a full-on attack on the sanctity of marriage. Single-parent homes remove the joy from the home. Both parents are in the home, but they are divided. That removes the joy from the home. Joy is one of the fruits of the Spirit according to Paul. If that be true, blocking off our joy is blocking off a portion of the Holy Spirit in our lives. Read verse 18 again.
And before he could answer, Kavah said, whatever it is a friend to no one, and it is not joined to creation. And Yatsakad said, and Father, there is nothing that can be known about it, for you to enter into it to give it life. And the joy of life is not present any longer in our resting place.
What was the Lord's response to this?
And the Lord said to them quietly, this is a good place for you to dwell now. What fell to the earth was a stone that flew in the midst of the heavens, and his name is Motsor the Decadent. For he is a rock that is fallen into decay, and he thinks he is God.
And he thinks he is what?
And he thinks he is God.
And he thinks he is God. Remember, we went over this in our spiritual warfare episode, in our Remembrance of Enochs series. We read about the first day of tranquility in our spiritual warfare episode. The holy days are a type of spiritual warfare. Go back in this series, Enoch's True Calendar, the Milus Day episode and Passover, the Milus Day and Passover episode, we briefly discussed the power of the holy days and why the enemy looks to distort them and remove them from our remembrance. Read verse 19 again.
And the Lord said to them quietly, this is a good place for you to dwell now. What fell to the earth was a stone that flew in the midst of the heavens, and his name is Motsor the Decadent. And he is a rock that is fallen into decay, and he thinks that he is God.
Verse 20.
And the Lord smiled upon them, and he touched them, and he said, be not afraid, for I am here with you.
Again, the Lord tells them to be not afraid. He is right there with them. The Lord is always right here with us. All the time he is with us. He will always guide us and navigate us through all situations if we allow him to do so. If we have faith in his arm. Start verse 20 over.
And the Lord smiled upon them, and he touched them, and he said, be not afraid, for I am here with you. And he took them each by the hand, and they walked together toward the cavity of the rock. And there before the grandeur of the evening sunset, they spoke together of happy things. And when it was dark, the Lord lay down beside them, and they slept, each one laying their head on one of his arms.
Right there is the first part of the Feast of Tranquility. The Lord slept with Yatsakad and Kavah. Before that, they spent the better part of the evening speaking together about happy things, taking their minds away from the fear. Verse 22.
And when it began to be light, Enochs awoke them. And after they had stirred themselves, he said, tomorrow is the first celebration of tranquility. But tomorrow in the night, the rocks of Ebedel will move in their strength to descend upon the valley of Simcha with their spirits to suppress Motsor the Decadent. So today we shall prepare. Come, let us discover what is to be seen over the way across the stream. And they went happily together, like a father and his children. And Kavah sang and danced in the way before them.
So after they wake up from sleeping, what Enochs said, he tells them they got to prepare for not that day, but the next day. So a day, we're going to call it 2 days after they slept, what Enochs said, right? That would be the feast day. So the day before the feast day They got to prepare for it. They got to prepare for Ebedel to pass over Mozart the Decadent to suppress him, right? So what would they do? What would happen on that day, the day before the Feast of Tranquility? Let's keep reading.
For tomorrow in the night, the rocks of Ebedel will move in their strength to descend upon the valley of Simcha with their spirits to suppress Mozart the Decadent.
Remember, Ebedel is the Ever Kodeshi, the holy watcher who represents the rocks. Ebedel was going to move out and hold down Mozart the Decadent. Mozart is Semihaza, Satan. Keep reading.
So today we shall prepare. Come, let us discover what is to be seen over the way across the stream. And they went happily together like a father and his children, and Kavah sang and danced in the way before them.
So the second part of the Feast of Tranquility is when they prepared for the actual day. How did they do that? Read.
And there in an open grassy place, they discovered a seed growing in abundance, in clumps here and there. And a seed is known to be wheat. And it is golden, it was golden colored, and it was very delightful to behold, it gently swaying in the wind. So
the Lord took Yashakai and Kava to some Asib, which is wheat, right? And he showed them how to make bread with it. We read that whole account, like I said earlier, in our spiritual warfare episode in the Remembrance of Enoch playlist. Y'all go check that thing out. But let's skip down and read about the significance of the bread. So let's jump down to verse 29. Read.
And it came to pass that the Lord had some kind of clay container, which is called a kelly.
This clay container was called a kelly. You can find a kelly in the Strong's Concordance. Yeah, you're going to go to Strong's H3627. That's Strong's H3627. It says a utensil, a vessel, or a weapon. Y'all see that? A weapon. Spiritual warfare. You dig? Yeah. Let's jump ahead to verse 34. After Enoch said finish making the dough out of a seed, which is wheat, he just put the dough in the kelly, right? Let's read from there. Verse 34. Read.
And when Enoch said was done, he placed the dough in the kelly, and he looked upon his work with satisfaction. And pointing to the dough, Kavah said, Father, what is it? And he said, it is called lechem, or that is to say, bread.
Lechem is the Hebrew for bread. You can get that in the Strong's. That's Strong's H3899. And it comes from H3898. To battle. So bread comes from the word to battle or fight. Y'all see that? Once again, spiritual warfare. You can't make this up. We just go into the concordance. We first read about a kelly, which is what the Father showed them what to make the bread in, and we see what bread and that kelly, what that word kelly meant? It meant a weapon, right? Spiritual warfare. That is lechem, which was what was put in this weapon, right? It comes from H3899 and from H3898. To battle. See that? Bread comes from the word to battle or fight. Once again, spiritual warfare, right? So now we're going to skip down to verse 38. Enoch said he had just got finished making the bread in the kelly. Again, we went over this whole account in our spiritual warfare episode in the Remembrance of Enoch series, right? So Enoch said is done making the bread using the kelly, and Kava is crowding around close by, intrigued by this thing the Lord has made, right? Let's pick up from there. Verse 38, read.
And she looked at him to see what he would do with it. And he said, it is for eating. And he broke off a piece with his fingers, and he said, when you break bread, it will sweep away all of the effects that come by the presence of Mozart the Decadent.
What happens when we break bread?
When you break bread, it will sweep away all of the effects that come by the presence of Mozart the Decadent.
Breaking bread sweeps away all the effects that comes from the presence of the devil. Why? Let's keep reading to find out. Verse 39.
For inside the bread is the breath that is in me, and it gives life to the bread. And the breaking of bread will bring to birth the spirit of life, which quenches fear.
Whoa, now. Y'all hear that, baby? Read that again.
For inside the bread is the breath that is in me, and it gives life to the bread. And the breaking of bread will bring to birth the spirit of life, which quenches fear.
Breaking bread will bring to birth the spirit of life, which quenches fear. Once again, spiritual warfare. These things are all parts of the Feast of Tranquility, a day meant to be rooted in us for spiritual protection, right? Y'all go to the episode titled Spiritual Warfare, huh? And our Remembrance of Enoch playlist. I'm gonna keep running that to hear. Y'all gotta hear that full account, right? We just skimming over this thing, right? These are righteous elements meant to protect us in times of fear. Okay, so that was the first ever celebration of the Tranquility, or its first celebration of the Feast of Tranquility in Eden, right? The Most High brought protection to YASHAYA and Kava, and does the same thing for us. It's important to be on the same clock as the Father. There are spiritual benefits from it, right? So let's now go to the book of remembrance of Melchizedek. Here Melchizedek, who is Shem, will be giving us a deeper perspective on this holy day. We are in Melchizedek chapter 10 verse 68. Let's read.
And Melchizedek said, the holy day of the Feast of Tranquility is a constant reminder to us that the tranquility of Eden can be brought to our daily lives here in the temporal world by our trust in the Lord and by our compassion for the oppressed.
What is the Feast of Tranquility a reminder of?
And Melchizedek said, the holy day of the Feast of Tranquility is a constant reminder to us that the tranquility of Eden can be brought to our daily lives here in the temporal world.
How?
By our trust in the Lord and by our compassion for the oppressed.
First, by our trust in the Lord, the faith that He will see us through all things. And second, by our compassion for the oppressed, the feelings we have for the ones going through it. Let's get a precept. This is the Lord speaking through Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 17. Read.
Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow.
This is what the Lord expects us to do. He expects this from us, to have compassion for the oppressed, the spiritually oppressed, the physically oppressed, the mentally oppressed. We should have compassion for them. With that compassion coupled with faith in the Lord will bring us tranquility in this life we live in. Let's go back to Melchizedek chapter 10 verse 69. Read.
And all the Erkadeshi are perfectly aware of all the intentions of Enoch, he said, and the harmonious relationships established by Kava and Yatsakai. And what they did to transform Olam into Eden is present before their eyes. And there was no shadow of corruption in those friendships of rich bonding together.
We discussed what YASHAYA and Kava did to transform Olam into Eden in our episode titled The Day of Gamal. Now go check that thing out. That's in the Remembrance of Enoch playlist also. How them operating in their dominion brought oneness to the earth and transformed creation into paradise. Right? Deep stuff. Y'all check that thing out. Verse 79.
And into this marvelous scene of delight and happiness comes a wayward child of a comet.
This is Semihasa crashing into Eden, disrupting the tranquility there. Right? Read.
And the disruption was not just the crashing sounds and the shrieks heralding the sounds of death into Eden, but it was the introduction of fear into the tranquility of Eden.
What did the evil devil introduce into Eden?
It was the introduction of fear into the tranquility of Eden.
Semihasa introduced fear into Eden. Let's get another precept, right? We go into 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. Read.
For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
The spirit of fear is not from the Most High. That raises another question. If fear is not from God, why would He want us to fear Him? They have given the Most High a false character. They have given us a false perception of the Most High God. And doing this has brought chaos to his people. We need tranquility, family. Let's go back to Melchizedek chapter 10 and start verse 70 over.
And into this marvelous scene of delight and happiness comes a wayward child of a comet. And the disruption was not just the crashing sounds and shrieks heralding the sounds of death into Eden, but it was the introduction of fear into the tranquility of Eden. And the oppression shattered the foundations of the happiness of Eden.
What did oppression do?
And the oppression shattered the foundations of the happiness of Eden. And fear was the principal bearer of oppression.
And fear, And fear was the principal bearer of oppression. Fear is the number one reason for oppression, y'all. The main reason people face oppression is because of fear. Let that marinate. That's why the Father tells us to fear not. Wow. Y'all see that? Let's keep reading.
And our first parents were oppressed by fear and fled the only place they had known as home, never to return again.
Remember, we read that earlier. When YASHAYA and Kava saw the Lord, they said they were being pursued by fear. Y'all remember that? Verse 71.
And the ignorance of the rebellious was manifested because it took Semyaza a little while to realize that he caused fear. And he brought fear with him because when he broke away from his mother, he did not know where he was going. And he was afraid. And his rebellion was the author of fear.
And Semyaza, his rebellion was the author of fear. Wow. His rebellion was the author of fear. Read.
And when he discovered that he had control over the objects of creation with fear, he felt the exhilaration of dominance and power over his fellows. And he became determined that he would continue to use fear to oppress.
Fear is not of the Most High God. It's of Satan. Fear is used to control us. Man. Wow. Verse 72.
But two souls slept in the arms of Enochs said that night, and compassion flowed out and spilled over to cover the oppressed with loving kindness, and fear evaporated away utterly.
Compassion mixed with loving kindness caused fear to evaporate away utterly. They removed fear completely. That's another nugget, y'all. Israel, our people have been oppressed by fear for generations. In the episode titled YASHAYA and Kava, Espousal and Marriage, that's also in the Remembrance of Enoch playlist. At the end of that episode, we read a portion of the Willie Lynch letters, right? And we read how the slave owners put a spirit of fear in our women, meant to last for generations. If y'all go back and listen to that episode, you will hear what was done to our people. And then look around today and tell me that spirit of fear is not still oppressing our women and our people, all of them. How do we cure that fear? Start verse 72 over.
But two souls slept in the arms of Enochs said that night, and compassion flowed out and spilled over to cover the oppressed with loving kindness, and fear evaporated away utterly.
And fear evaporated completely. Read.
And the tranquility of Eden was restored with the arms of Enochs.
The arm of the Lord restored tranquility. The connecting with Christ in all things restored tranquility to Eden. That same connection will restore tranquility to our people also. Do y'all hear me? Shabua. Right? That will restore tranquility to our people. Verse 73.
And of their own accord, the Ergadeshi were moved within themselves with a new awareness brought on by this witness of fear. And their souls overflowed with protective instincts, and they spontaneously rose up and passed over first the sleeping figures and then the resting place of Semyaza. And he was quieted by them and wanted to hide himself, and now it is forever etched in the minds of the Ergadeshi that they will pass over the oppressed to steal the voice of fear, and they will pass over the oppressors to bring them to an awareness of their smallness in the face of the power of the truth.
Y'all see that? Yeah, that was a mouthful. Let's read verse 73 again.
And of their own accord, the Erkadeshi were moved within themselves with a new awareness brought on by the witness of fear.
When the Erkadeshi saw the effects of fear, when creation saw the effects of fear, something inside of them moved them to protect the righteous. Y'all watch, read.
And their souls overflowed with protective instincts, and they spontaneously rose up and passed over first the sleeping figures and then the resting place of Semyaza. And he was quieted by them and wanted to hide himself.
When the Erkadeshi passed over Semyaza, he wanted to hide himself. The devil don't want no smoke with the Erkadeshi. The fallen watchers can't do anything with the holy watchers. Which one of these groups of watchers do you want protecting you? Huh? Read.
And now it is forever etched in the minds of the Erkadeshi that they will pass over the oppressed to steal the voice of fear. And they will pass over the oppressors to bring them to an awareness of their smallness in the face of the power of the truth.
Baby, read that again.
And now it is forever etched in the minds of the Erkadeshi.
This forever is tattooed in the minds of the Erkadeshi. They know this beyond a reasonable doubt. Read.
That they will pass over the oppressed to steal the voice of fear.
The Erkadeshi know that they will pass over the righteous when they are being oppressed by the adversary and his minions, and quiet the voice of fear that can cause the righteous to doubt, that can cause the righteous to hesitate, that can cause the righteous to retreat when they should push forward. The Erkadeshi will shut that voice of fear up. Read.
And they will pass over the oppressors to bring them to an awareness of their smallness in the face of the power of the truth.
And the Erkadeshi know beyond a reasonable doubt that they will pass over the oppressors, that he or she can't bust a grape in a wine vineyard. When they face the power of the truth, Christ is the truth, y'all, and he promised to protect us if we walk with him. So if we choose to walk with most of the Lamb, Christ, the devil has lost already. Y'all hear that? Oh, praises. Verse 74.
And with the division of days established by Enoch,
and with the calendar established by Enoch, read.
They took on the perpetual task of passing over the righteous.
So what comes with following Enoch's true calendar is a perpetual protection from the Erkadeshi. This is what Melchizedek is saying right here, y'all. Start verse 74.
And with the division of days established by Enoch, they took on.
They is the Erkadeshi. Read.
They took on the perpetual task of passing over the righteous when they are oppressed with fear. And in this way, the inhabitants of Mawin were blessed. Now, all the Erkadeshi were accustomed to passing over the inhabitants of Ma'in.
Remember, Ma'in is the ancient name for Zion. We read about that in our Power of Godliness episode. That's also in our Remembrance of Enoch playlist. Man, that Remembrance of Enoch playlist is heavy, y'all. Now go check that thing out. Huh? Don't neglect yourself, elect yourself. You did. So the people of Ma'in, which is Zion, are blessed because it is now routine to the Erkadeshi to pass over the righteous all of the time, whenever they need it. Not just on this holy day. Y'all see that? Read.
And they learned something from Zedekiah that they did not know. And they learned that they had to seek out the righteous among the wicked so they could pass over them to bless and comfort them when they too slept with Enoch, he said.
And Zedekiah taught the Erkadeshi something they didn't know. The Erkadeshi must also seek out the righteous living outside of Ma'in, outside of Zion, and protect them also. Yasha, saviors. Man, how that song go? Yasha, savior. That's our deliverer. Look at the protection he has established for us through the works of righteous brothers and sisters like Yasakai, Kava, Baraka, Enoch, Shem, and Shum. Enoch, Shem, and Shem and Shum. Shem is Melchizedek, and Shum is Zedekiah, his wife. Amazing, right? These protections has been established by righteous and brothers and sisters from the beginning, and Christ is the orchestrator of it, right? Read.
And so Enochs says pillow became their signal to bring tranquility to his people whenever, wherever they are found and in any kind of circumstance.
So Enochs says pillow signal to their Kodeshi to go out and protect the righteous. Part of the celebration of tranquility is when we pull out Enochs says pillow and sleep with him. So following this holy day signifies the Ere Kodeshi to protect us. Verse 75.
And Melchizedek said, Enochs said has two criteria as to who he will visit with his presence to sleep with. First, those who revere his name, and that is to say, revere what his name means, and it means I am loving kindness.
So the first requirement needed to have Enochs said sleep with us during the celebration of tranquility is to respect his name. Is to put some respect on his name, believe in his name, believe in the meaning of his name. And that name, it means loving kindness, That means you believing he is the God of loving kindness. What's the second thing?
And second, those who abide by the sanctity of marriage, single, married, child, or widow, all who hold the sanctity of marriage, he sleeps with. And for his lovely ones who do not know of his pillow, he will bring his own.
We have to walk in the sanctity of marriage. That's all people, married or single, widow or child. The sanctity of marriage is operating in loving kindness with all people. That's the sanctity of marriage. Those are the two requirements for Enochs said to sleep with us during the season of this holy day. Revering his true name. I am loving kindness, Enochs said, and walking the earth expressing that loving kindness to all people. Let's keep reading and see what is done by the men and the women for this holy day. Read.
And so on the day of tranquility, the men intervened with their agency using the element of righteousness to call upon the Ere Kodeshi to identify their own and lay claim to them to cover them with protection.
So it's the men who call their Kodesh to go into action to protect the righteous, right? Verse 76.
And the women using the element of righteousness shall set in place 7 protections that will address the needs of the day for those who the Ere Kodeshi have identified. And these interventions must be led by the Spirit and must be deliberate and formulated year by year.
So the men call to action who the Ere Kodeshi will protect, and the women call out who the Ere Kodeshi will protect, or call out how the Ere Kodeshi will protect. The women call for 7 different types of protection. This is that that perpetual protection for the year. Y'all see that? Read.
And it will be best if they are identified by the women and prepared for during the jubilees of days preceding the day of tranquility. And the men intervene with their agency with the elements of righteousness to call upon the Ere Kodeshi to identify their own and to lay claim to them.
So these protections should be established during the 50 days that are between this holy day and the last holy day, which was Shabuah, or the day of instruction, right? Verse 77.
And every holy day sets forth the unique righteousness of it for the year. And so the Passover intervention lasts until the next Passover. And every holy day is after this manner.
Every holy day on the calendar is setting whatever righteousness it is dealing with for the year. So the Ere Kodesh will be passing over for the year, right? Not just on that day. So all holy days, when we set it in stone, we are setting them in stone for the year. And that is going to be doing that. Whatever that righteousness that holy day is dealing with is doing that for the whole year. You dig? Oh, praises, man. Feast of tranquility. You dig? Now let's go to the handbook, right? We're going to read out the handbook and see what the routine for that day is, as we do for all the holy days in this playlist, in this series. All right, so we are now in the handbook of established righteousness. We're going to go to page 356, right? All right, let's Let's read through this. We're going to see what the day or the 3 days, the 3 parts of the Feast of Tranquility consist of. Okay? So now let's go. This is Gokul Harem III, Ben Elim, or Ben Elam, right? Letting us know about this, right? Let's read. We now keep the Passover established in Eden. The Feast of Tranquility is like the ceremony for the new year, in that it is a 3-day ceremony, and Enochs said comes to sleep with us. Here is a table outlining the ceremony days. After that, there's a description breakdown for each day. All right, let's get it. Day 1, a Sabbath, and the 4th day of the week. So y'all see that the first day of this holy day is always on the 4th day of the week, right? Part 1, women preside and intervene. Like on New Year's, prior to this day, clean your homes and villages in anticipation of Enochs said coming to sleep with you. Make bedding fresh and new, and put out our Enochs says pillow early in the day. Meet at church to bless heralding bundles. What is a heralding bundle, y'all? Heralding bundles can be kept on your doorpost or on a slim pole in your yard outside your door on the south side facing east. It is a small leather bag about the size of a walnut in the hole. It contains element that is well acquainted with all the members of your household. 1 bag per household is normal. The only thing in this little bag that is universal is a little pebble from a creek / and or a river that you have carried around in your pocket for at least 7 days. What else is in the bag? So what else is in the bag? The Lord will have to lead you to know. Usually little bits of plants that feel protection are used. See Dictionary of Definitions in this book, right? So there are different plants out there that feel protection, right? So what it's saying right there in this heralding bundle is that, you might hold a little pebble, a little rock in your pocket for 7 days because creation is alive. This rock is getting to know you for 7 days. And then you put it in this little bundle, this little leather pouch with some plants that feel protection. And you put all your family members' rocks in this little bag and you bless this bundle and put it on your door. It's an element of righteousness. It's an element of protection. That's something that's deep, right? That's deep. In order to see what type of plants feel protection, you can go and cop this handbook of established righteousness, or you can get your righteousness up and learn what each plant feels, right? Look, that's gonna take some time, and you're gonna need some experience to learn that stuff on your own. So the handbook of established righteousness might be in order. You understand? Well, let's go back to this part right here. It said they meet at the church to bless heralding bundles. They light a sacred fire, opening prayer, and have an opening prayer with Harari. Remember, we talked about this before on the other holidays. When they're lighting a sacred fire, that means they're getting a spindle or a stick, and like the Boy Scouts do, they starting a fire with that thing. That's a sacred fire, right? Men of service speak about the day of tranquility and what it meant for our first parents, right? Bring heralding bundle up to be painted yellow and placed around the altar. Okay. Next, the dancers dance the bundles, raising them up to bless them. During the dancing, one of the men of service prays with a prayer censer. See section, the use of element. So there's a section in this book called the use of element, right? Y'all get this book. This is the handbook of established righteousness. This thing ain't on no PDF, man. You gotta go get the hard copy of this thing. All right. So part 2, men preside and intervene. After bundles are blessed, light the censer and blow smoke onto the bundles. The people pray for anyone who has a special need to bless them and help them overcome their fears. Everyone puts their hands upon the person they're praying for. Afterward, put Harari on the coals. Closing prayer. Enochs said comes to sleep with you this night. So that's the first day of this 3-day festival or feast, right? Day 2, the 5th day of the week, right? Women preside and establish. Arise early and meet to dance the wheat. Young maidens or women, if there are no maidens, dance the song of the dance to where the seed, wheat, is kept. The men wait at the storage place or the field if the wheat is still there, and the women follow the dancers up in order, oldest to youngest. Collect a seed, that's wheat seed, and grind it in the villages by hand upon grindstones, starting with the oldest to the youngest, right? Use the flour to make kelly bread, made with milk, honey, and leavening. No salt. Do not be miserly with the honey. Look, they quoting Christ up in here. Moses, do not be stingy with the honey. Start food preparations for the feast on the following day, right? That's the second day of the Feast of Tranquility, right? Day 3, the Feast of Tranquility, the 6th day of the week. This is the official holy day. It's 50 days after the last holy day, y'all, which was what? Shabuah, or the day of instruction. All right, so day 3, the Feast of Tranquility, the 6th day of the week. Men preside. Gather together sometime that day to feast together and eat kelly bread. Bring a small rock to place bread on it so it sits point up. At the beginning of the feast, break the tip off the bread, and a man of service prays over the bread. Eat the sacred meal. In a sacred meal, no one eats until all are served. That, y'all, is the order of service on the 3 days of the Feast of Tranquility. That last day, they're coming together to have a feast. You know, everyone bringing food, and they're gonna eat, have a good time. You understand? All praises, all praises, all praises, y'all. All praises. Man, look. That was our discussion, our episode, our 4th episode in the Enochs True Calendar series, right? And that's talking about the celebration of tranquility, or the Feast of Tranquility. Man, look, y'all, the Father is restoring the holy days to us and the meanings of them. You did. The Feast of Tranquility, which is the actual holy day, was on the 12th of this month of July, right? Dancing up to the wheat, the Esib, was on the 11th of this month, and sleeping with the Enochs said was on the 10th of this month. Look, y'all, look, I'm using this year to get the discussions on each of these holy days recorded. So by next year, I can just share these videos a few times a week, or a few times 2 weeks before the holy days, so ones can be prepared. Father willing, we can get this done. Man, the books of remembrance of Moses will be released in August, y'all. I'm gonna say that again. The book of remembrance of Moses will be released in August, y'all. Y'all can go to brotherhoodofchrist.org to get your pre-order. That thing got powerful information in it, family. For real though. Man, for real though. Get these books. Get all these books. All of them. Before the new one come out. So you can know what this series is talking about. Get all these other books. You have to do so because they all lead to this new one. Yo, the truth is being brought out in these last days, man. It takes humility to be able to grasp it, though. We must repent for thinking we know so we can truly become wise. Shout out to all you brothers and sisters on this walk with my house. You feel me? As always, I pray this message was for somebody. All praises to Kahi, which is the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Kadash, which gives us our CHAAKAMAWATH, that's wisdom, right? All praises to Enochs said, that's all praises to the great I am, loving kindness. Ahayah Christ said, all praises to Most of the Lamb, that's our Savior, YASHAYA. Remember, family, we gotta love the Most High with all our mind, all our heart, and all our might, and to love our brothers and sisters like the Most High loves them. See them like the Father sees them, and hear them like the Father hears them. Feel for them like the Father feels for them. It's your boy Peezee and beautiful Ari Amuna. Real Judah. Let go.
Cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at.
We do not battle against flesh and blood. I spit what it is and reap what it was. Angels and demons that surrounded us. Preset borderline, yes to that before. I grew up fitted caps over snapbacks, but now the young cats selling they smoke crack. Times change, I know, but I'm a throwback. Now they bring dudes when they ask where the hoes at. I woke up to the fact it's a spiritual, and demons enter individual. So good girl, they done turned to some freaks now. Vegan, but eats a variety of meats now. These days to be a snitch is the thing now, and make undeserving service kings now. If the word was a sword and it's a pistola, I'm strapped and I cock and I bust like a prophet.
4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at.
My father's a conqueror, my savior's a conqueror. I am a conqueror, if it be your highest will, my seeds will be conquerors. We've been cursed with a curse, that the curse will be cursed with a curse that occurs generation after generation. Until the curse who was cursed with this curse returned from the curse of the creator of their salvation. I preach the burdens of a whole nation that is blind to the crimes and the signs of the times and how to turn from the pain that they're facing. I've learned to be patient, I am patiently waiting. Woe to them that lose patience, there's reward for the saints who show patience. The word was a sword, now it's a pistola. I cock and I bust like a prophet.
4-5 cocked at a hunchback. KJV where my trunk's at. Got a 4-5 cocked at a hunchback.